Yo guys, Sweebo here, your least favorite degenerate, and I'm here to talk about the three main Persona games that people really care about, as well as Atlas likes to acknowledge exist. Persona 3, 4, and 5, and I'll be giving my thoughts on them. Without further ado, I guess we'll just hop on right into the video. As you probably saw by the title card right before this, the first game I'm actually covering is not 3, but instead 5, because I'm not doing this in chronological order. I'm doing it by the order in which I played the games, and yes, I played 5 first. Kill me. Anyway, before I get into my discussion on it, I want to preface that I do really love all of these games. They really mean a lot to me, and I think they're each great games in their own rights, but just to keep, the video interesting and stuff, I have to, say stuff I do not like about the games compared to each other. So, with that in mind, let me just get on to reviewing Persona 5. I think one of the biggest strengths Persona 5 has over the other two games is definitely the gameplay, because once I jumped from Persona 5 to 3, to like 3 and 4, and especially 3, it really was jarring, like how different the gameplay was, and it took a bit to adjust, because Persona 5's gameplay is really that much better. It really felt a whole lot less grindy in the game, and even the times where I had to be in combat a lot, the combat to me was a whole lot more fun in 5, because it just felt so snappy and responsive. Like, I'll probably put some background gameplay of it right here, and you'll see later on how, like, you can easily be a whole lot more attracted to 5's gameplay. Another thing that Persona 5 has really strong over 4 and 3 is the first arc, which is different from the introduction, but I'll be getting into that a little later. Anyways, I think Persona 5 did a wonderful job of setting Kamoshida, which is the first villain of Persona 5, as a great villain, and it gives the cast and you as a player a fantastic feeling of being able to rile up against this horrible dude. In fact, I think it works so well because the villain is so closely linked to you, and you have kind of real motives and see the villain's, I guess, atrocities in action. I mean, shit, in the first week of the game, you witness Shiho jump off the fucking school building because she was molested by Kamoshida. If that isn't some high fucking stakes, I don't know what is. This gives the character of An, Phantom Thief that's introduced pretty early on in the game, a real connection to this villain, and makes it so it was just beautifully written, and you can see why they're so mad and want to go through with what they're doing. Also, another thing that I can probably say uniquely about Persona 5 is that it's a remake, re-release sort of, with additions, is probably the most solid re-release of a game in the entire series, and that it's definitely the definitive version of Persona 5. So if you want to try the game, I recommend you pick up Persona 5 Royal instead of the base game. This is because of all the massive improvements to things like Mementos, which was kind of a little less insufferable version of Tartarus, but in Royal they made it a whole lot better to sit through, as well as brand new social links and areas to visit, which definitely cuts down on a lot of the mundanity that sometimes can happen between long stretches of story. And speaking of story, let's move on to Persona 5's story/themes. Now, I know I'm probably going to get crucified by the Church of Persona fans, but Persona 5 is my least favorite in this aspect. And no, that doesn't make it a bad game or a bad story whatsoever. In fact, I love them all so much that I still hold this in a very high position. In fact, I think this game does a pretty wonderful job at enforcing its themes, except for, you know, the occasional slip-ups here and there. But otherwise, I think the themes of freedom and rebellion stick throughout the entire game, especially with the characters, since each of them has gone through their own sort of form of oppression and end up finding the strength to rise up and change society by the end. Great, now that I'm done with my positives, I gotta talk about the things I really don't like so much. Unfortunately, there's not a lot, but I think the ones that there are still kind of hurt the game. First issue is, well, it's definitely not an original thought coming from me, I'm just gonna say it right here, but in the second arc of the game, when they're going after Madarame, and they pretty much just forget the entire character of An and how she was abused in the first part, to just kind of like play off, oh, strip nude for him on for laughs, is kind of unbearable to sit through. I can only imagine the fucking crack the story writers were on when writing this part, because I'm just like, how could you just so blatantly contradict why would you do that? Why? And they don't even take it seriously whatsoever. And the most insulting thing of all is that all the dialogue options are pretty much like, yeah, do it on, and at best, like, sort of hinting at doing it. There's no way to, like, flat out reject the idea. And if I need to remind anybody, right before this arc, she was being blackmailed into sex for Kamoshida so her friend could be on the team, on a volleyball team. Kinda see why it's a little fucked up. And then, after that, we got my second biggest gripe with this game. Kumara's Palace! God fucking damn it! Why does this thing exist? Gameplay-wise, it's atrociously long. The puzzles are horrible to find out, especially on the first playthrough, because I swear to God, each puzzle takes like 5 hours to complete, and then they hit you with a very similar one but harder. It's frustrating. And then there's the atrocious at best story writing during this part. Oh boy, Morgana throws hissy fits, leaves, because that's definitely something he's like, oh man, oh, I guess I have to have my character arc now, okay, hey Makoto, can I grab the You're Useless story arc? Thanks. But on a more serious note, it is really frustrating to see my boy Ryuji just getting absolutely destroyed, and like everyone being so mad at him for getting the cat Angie, when the cat's literally fucking dissing this guy the entire game. The one time he fucking claps back, I swear, he throws a hissy fit and like goes off to like fucking enter Kumara's palace and do some dumb shit. But you know what? At least we get to meet Haru through this. The person who's the daughter of the palace owner and is going to be sold off for political gain. And can you guess what happens when they finally encounter Okumura? You know, like, oh, you know, Haru has a heartfelt speech about not being controlled by her dad and being used as his puppets for disgusting arranged marriage. No, it's fucking Morgana. Morgana bitches out Okumura. Yeah, let's close off here for Persona 5. Persona 3. Let's talk about it. There are a lot of things I like, but also a whole lot of things I don't. Even though it's my favorite game in the series. Don't kill me, please. I really like the intro to Persona 3. I think it perfectly sums up what this game is about, and I think it did it the best out of all the games. Because immediately from the beginning, it is instant shock. Like, I remember the first time I saw it. I saw the first time that Yukari was holding an evoker up to her head. I was like, what the fuck, bro? And that is the shock and also the curiosity that got me going. And I think it is just truly wonderful how that works. I also think the characters just work beautifully with the theme. Even better than Persona 5's did, because of how throughout the game, death and the thought of it affects their character, especially to pretty much the entire team who have lost or lose somebody extremely close to them, and how they react to that. I think especially the hardest hitting parts are Akihiko and Junpei's reaction to the people that they held dear to them dying, both of which died to save another person, which, man, you know what, words can't express this. I'll just play the scenes.
Hey guys, Editor Weibo here, and if I were to put these clips in here, it would extend the video by roughly 10 to 30 minutes, so instead I'm just going to be leaving links in the description if you want to go check them out. Anyways, just pretend I didn't say that, and on to the next part.
And speaking of those scenes, in both, you might notice how, unlike 4 or 5, Persona 3's ultimate personas for the cast are unlocked through the story and not through social links, which I think is ultimately so much better of a narrative device to use. Because with their personas evolving, with how much with the development of their character in the main story, it feels so much more impactful than just finishing their social link, which I don't think it's bad. I think it's just it's more of a meh compared to how impactful 3's was. Man, I kind of want to gush over my favorite game for a little longer, but I also got to talk about the things I don't like about it. So, as I mentioned in my Persona 3 Remake video where I suggested reworking Tartarus, I think probably the lowest point of the game is the gameplay, because it is Tartarus is incredibly grindy. Holy hell. And, oh boy. The structure of Persona 3's gameplay is extremely similar to 5's, which I think, my personal theory, that 5 took a whole lot of inspiration from 3 with making, like, Tartarus mementos, but you know, instead of Tartarus being the main focus for gameplay, they made it kind of a side thing, which helped Persona 5's gameplay a whole lot. Whereas in 3, Tartarus is not that great, as it's extremely repetitive, and at a time, you just kind of get sick of it. You're like, oh great, I gotta go to Tartarus again to grind up levels or to get to the next objective or whatever. Which kind of sucks, because you gotta get through 264 floors of it by the end of the game. Which might not seem like a lot, but when you dread doing it about halfway through the game, it's pretty daunting. Also, if we're talking about FES and Portable Persona 3, then I should also mention the fact that in FES, there's a Chidori revival scene if you talk to Junpei on certain days, which thankfully on my first playthrough I did not get, because I didn't even know about this in my first playthrough, but it really just takes away of the impact that those scenes are supposed to have, because, you know, they used their life, which is like the ultimate sacrifice. So to just bring them back, it feels like Atlas was backtracking with each re-release of Persona 3. So that's kind of why a lot of people are scared of another remake, because like, hell, what are they fucking planning there? Like, are they gonna backtrack further on the themes? And also with Portable, Shinji gets a revival scene too. Same issues with Chiori's. They both suck. Now, the final game that I played recently, Persona 4. I would have to say without a doubt that the strongest thing about Persona 4 is its characters and how they interact with the story, because I genuinely think that the character arcs in the story, as well as their social links, were vastly more enjoyable than the actual like murder mystery itself. Not to say it was bad, it was just okay, but the characters are really what made the story. And to elaborate on that further, I think characters like Kanji and Naoto, especially the first two that come to mind for me, are especially like, they feel more real. You know, with their issues and insecurities not completely vanishing after they just get this magical power of a persona, but actually, you know, kind of being at least helped by the protagonist in their social link, where they make discoveries about themselves and grow as people. Gameplay-wise, on the other hand, I think Persona 4 is kind of like a median between them, because it's not atrocious like Tartarus. Not at any point in Persona 4 did I feel like I just wanted to stop and like just like throw the controller across the room if I had to go up another floor of fucking Tartarus. But I never felt like really engaged either. So it was alright. It was definitely like a stepping stone to what 5's gameplay would become. I really like Adachi as a villain. And I think the main reason I do is because when you think of villains and like typical media, they always have to either be like just completely evil to the core with no understanding of them, or they're like some villain that you have to super sympathize with. Whereas Adachi is neither. He's the biggest fucking asshole in the entire universe, and yet he's not like pure evil. He has twisted ideals, hell yeah, but he's not like here like, oh yeah, fuck you, everyone should die. You know? He just has a very distorted view on reality. And this is where I get into the negatives, because right after, I would say, a solid villain, we get our typical, oh hey, remember this is a JRPG, you have to fight gods. Which, honestly, I didn't think Amino Sagiri was very underwhelming in my opinion. This is because his fight, honestly, wasn't that hard, and on top of that, it's the fact that he pretty much, although I didn't expect it, it kind of felt underwhelming when he was like, when you defeated him, and he was like, oh, I guess, yeah, sure, whatever, fuck any ideals I had before, you're right now. Like, oh, you defeated me, therefore humanity must want whatever you guys want. It just felt a bit weak to me. But it does get a little better with Izanami, because at least in then, I think, you know, I still mainly have a lot of the same issues as with Amino Sagiri, but then also the final ending scene, while it may be cheesy or whatever, it was still good. Because especially the part where you pretty much just takes off and flinks his glasses was the best part of the scene for me, because to me that said, I don't need these to see through your lies or deception anymore, which was pretty impactful. So I have to give props where they are due. I think the final cutscene of the game was fantastically done. But yeah, that's about it for my quote-unquote review, but just think of this more as my thoughts, because I'm not very good at officially reviewing it, and my word is not law by any means, as is no one's. You're completely entitled to your own opinion. Both out of the way, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and, watching this absurdly long video. I mean, in post it's probably gonna be 20 plus minutes. Shit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day, or night, whatever. Peace.